All right. Hello, 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 everyone. So let me just get started and said hello and welcome to the KnolShare with Dr. Dave podcast. I am Dr. Dave A. Cornelius, affectionately called Dr. Dave, and I am your host. We're in the early stages of 2024, and I am just fired up and ready to go. This is the first episode of the Getting to Your Mountaintop podcast series,
Mhm.
and we will discuss how people overcome challenges to reach their summits or
Mm.
the wins that they have in their sales steward progress. We want our listeners to learn from the paths our guests carved through adversity, unlocking insights and strategies for success. So, my guest today is Daryl Coach D. Andrews. Coach D, welcome to the Now Share with Dr. Dave podcast and getting to your mountaintop series.
Man, first of all, thank you, Dr. Dave. And boy, I love that getting to your mountaintop. That's a powerful title, and that should be all of our goal, man, to keep ascending, till we get there. So I'm honored, and hopefully today's information, what we share, will be beneficial to your listeners.
Yeah, so I like to start off with something soft, like what song or spoken word is inspiring you today? And, would you be open to humming a few bars of a song that you love or a few words of inspiration? Bring it light, bring it close. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know if I was prepared for that one. That song. What would be a song that I can think of? Because I listen to different songs, but um, I'll sing one that's connected to your title. How's
All
that?
right.
All
All
right.
right.
Ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't
That
no
is
river
great, man.
wide enough, baby. If you need me, call me, no matter where you are. So I'll do a little Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell.
Yeah, there ain't no
No
mountain
mountain
high enough.
high enough,
That's a beautiful
ain't
song.
no valley low enough.
Yep, I love that song. That's a beautiful
Yeah,
song.
yeah. But I think in context, what they're saying is there's nothing that's going to stop me from
Right.
getting to you. And I think for us, we shouldn't have anything stop us from getting to our dreams and to our
That's
goals.
right. That's right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so
So that's
since
the
we,
context. Yeah.
but since we
Right.
start off with such a positive energy, let's talk.
Yeah.
Let's do an elevator pitch about yourself. I
Hmm.
prefer people to introduce themselves that versus
Sure.
firing.
Well, yeah. Thank you for that. And again, I'm Daryl Andrews, Coach D. I'm the president, CEO. I like to say Chief Passion Officer of Daryl Andrews LLC and Associates. We are a coaching, training, and strategic analysis team of people where we go in and we provide. Really, there's 3 to 4 specific what we call frameworks that we focus on. One is with post-pandemic leadership, where we're coaching and training leaders around the need to lead their people from a post-pandemic perspective for recruitment and retention folk issues. We focus on empowering self-care, which is designed to get staff and employees and leaders to own wellness, the journey, because a lot of times companies are putting up these wellness initiatives and they don't necessarily work because people aren't owning it. So we bridge the gap by coaching and training, not just leaders, but even staff on that. We have some work around team building and teamwork. um, that's those saying the teamwork that makes the dream work. The culture is really driven by the team. And the way the team interacts with each other is really going to decide the culture that the team experiences, but also the people that you serve. And then last, we do diversity, equity, inclusion from the inside out. And again, it's all coaching and training. So depending on the needs of our customers, that's what we're getting invited in to do. And we've been doing it now for 20 years, 20
That's
years, and I have a small team.
yeah, that's beautiful,
Yep.
man.
Yep.
Small but mighty, right?
Small but mighty, man. Let me tell you something. We knock it out the park. I mean, we have big corporations that say, "Man, you guys are smaller than some of these other folks coming in, but you're way more effective." And I always tell them that the reason why is that we look at each. We don't just look at you as a customer. We look at you as a partner. We're here as a part of your team to help you achieve whatever goal it may be. So we don't just look at it as, "Wow, we got this contract. Let's go to work." We are literally integrating ourselves into your culture to help build out your culture. Because that's what we did a lot with cultures. Because you look at the workplace, most people complaining about going to work, and we got to end that. Like people should feel good about going to work. They should be able to use their gifts, talents, and abilities in work, but these other stumbling blocks prevent that from happening. So we want to create healthier strong workplaces where people can be productive and they can grow as humans and individuals within the space. So we those four areas kind of help us accomplish that goal.
That's awesome. So what really
Mhm.
inspired you to start your own business, and how did your
Mm.
background influence your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, I tell people all the time, and it's kind of fun. It's sort of funny, I guess. I've always been an entrepreneur. I remember I'm from Syracuse, New York, Dr. Dave, and I don't know if you know anything about Syracuse, but man, we get mountains of snow up there. It's like the snow capital. One time I think we broke the record for snow in the United States in one year. And matter of fact, when I was a kid, they had one year where it actually hit 6 feet. It was just that high in snow. It was crazy. And so um, but every time, things like that would happen, to me, that was a business opportunity. So I would go to the neighbors and shovel their snow, and I did everything, man. I mean, you name it. As a kid, I did it. I just was always entrepreneurial. So I knew from my childhood that I wanted to grow up and be an entrepreneur. But what inspired me to go down the path I chose for entrepreneurs and were people. There's a guy by the name of Dr. Miles Monroe who deeply influenced my life. Les Brown, who many people are familiar with, influenced my life. Zig Ziglar, I used to listen to him every day, influenced my life. But I want to go down a different path than them. I didn't just want to stand on stages doing keynotes and motivating and inspiring people, which we've done a lot of those. I want to get into the nitty gritty and help build out those systems. And so I worked in corporate for a bunch of years, a company called Abbott Laboratories, their medical diagnostics division and their pharmaceuticals division. And that was really, I think, where I honed my skills, because when you're working for a Fortune 30 company in a professional level, you have to be professional at every aspect, from leading people to self motivation, to self discipline, to emotional intelligence. And then so at Abbott, I was involved with sales and marketing, but then I started getting involved with training. And that's when I started realizing, okay, I want to take these skill sets and go out to the marketplace and make a difference, not just here at this company, but with the other organizations. So that was kind of the foundation. Just again being a kid, man. I just knew I was wanted to be an entrepreneur. But as I got older and aged, I realized I want to use entrepreneurship in the space of using my voice and wisdom and knowledge to be able to transform individuals and organizations.
And you certainly are doing that
Hmm. Hmm.
just based on the
Hmm.
organizations that you've worked for, like Abbott.
Sure.
They're pretty big.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
talk about challenges that you may have faced in your business, and how did you overcome some of those challenges?
Well, I think if you own a business, you're gonna have no doubt you're gonna have challenges. It's the nature of the beast with business. It really is. It's a beautiful thing, but you do have your challenges. I think if there's any challenges that I've faced when it comes to it, is that with business, is that you have to recognize the fact when it's time to shift gears. Like some people think that their business, the way they ran their business, let's say 10, 15, 20 years ago, is the way they're gonna run it today. And then they start to see a decrease and they're like, well, what's going on? Like, I'll give you a prime example. During the pandemic, right when it hit, 90% of our business was working directly with customers at their location. So we would go into an office, we would work with staff, we would work with leaders. A lot of our coaching was just one-on-one, those type of things. But then here comes the a moment in time I'll never forget, February of 2020. And I say February because that's when we started hearing about patient number one in New York with COVID. And then patient number one became patient number 100,000 in like 2 days. It just spread it so fast. And then I lost 90% of my business in 1 week. 1 week. Now, you want to talk about the challenge? Imagine telling your team, okay, our income source just got fully cut. Okay, all our customers are backing off. And so it was frustrating, it was aggravating. And I was sitting there thinking, wait a minute, we were on a roll, things were going well. What is this? What is this pandemic thing? It's supposed to be in China anyway. Why is it here in the United States? What are they doing? So we for about 3 weeks, I was just scrambling, trying to figure out what to do. And then I said, okay, you give advice to people, give yourself some. And so what advice I gave to myself was, if most of these folks can't get anywhere, let's just go virtual. So I changed my website. I changed our marketing material. I talked to my team. I said, everything from this point forward is virtual. It doesn't matter what it is. And we made that shift quickly. And that's another thing with business. You don't wait too long. Sometimes you gotta make quick shifts. And Dr. Dave, within several months, we kind of were reestablished. And from that year moving forward, we were doubling, tripling our business because we're able to do more virtually than we were live anyway. You can reach more locations virtual than you can flying on airplanes. And so the point I'm making is that challenge that I faced and is really something I like to use a term that I hope people can embrace. It's called disruptive innovation.
Yes, I love
And so,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Isn't that a good one, man?
yeah,
Disruptive
yeah.
innovation. That don't look at every struggle is a problem. Maybe it's time to innovate. Maybe that disruption is saying go another direction. I think we're experiencing it now. I think with the inclusion of artificial intelligence and you can literally create your own everything with our AI now. Do you even need a consultant? You could use AI and let AI be your consultant. So now it's like, well, what do we do there? So I'm creating new partnerships now as we speak. Looking at going deeper into the 21st century, man. Yep. So,
You have to,
yep.
with that whole disruptive innovation, there's this the two P's. Whereas, do I pivot or persevere, right, in
Mm-hmm.
the journey,
Yep.
right, of really
Mm-hmm.
to start looking at leveraging things like AI and
Mm-hmm.
all of
Yep.
the goodness that comes with it, but also all of the
Mm-hmm.
challenges that comes with it as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's it. Absolutely. And
Yeah,
so I hope people embrace that term because I think as a business owner, that term should always be in your wheelhouse because
yeah,
something can happen and you can either let it shut you down or you can go a new direction. I'll say this real quick. There's a book years ago called Think and Grow Rich that,
yeah,
that was out there that was really popular. And I think it was Napoleon Hill that wrote that book. But he talking about the Great Depression. And he was saying how there were two schools of thought in business during that time. One, people gave up. We know the stories. I don't want to say the sad stuff that happened, but we know people just lost it, man.
yeah,
And so that was one school of thought. The other school was, let's try something new. Let's go another direction. And what he was saying is the people who said, let's try something new in another direction are still prospering to this day, where all those other folks just went by the wayside. So as a business owner, you always want to be a few steps ahead of the game. When you see trends are kicking in and things like that, don't ignore them. Start seeing how do I position my work to be able to effectively um, persevere through this, not persevere, but shift, pivot to be
yeah.
able to go a new direction. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about balancing, cultural identity with the business world's demand. It's a thing that, people go through. It's just one of
Yeah.
those things that we have to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting because that's no doubt an issue. I mean, it is. I'm a man of color, as we can see. And so I've been this way all my life. You know what I mean? I'm not going to paint myself and do something and whatever. But cultural identity. What I try to get folks to understand, like I'll be honest with you. I'm just gonna be brutally candid. I'm a big fan. We talk about diversity, but I'm a big fan of vendor diversity. I think a lot of times we talk about diversity in the workplace, but we're not considering those people that's trying to do business with people. There should be some consideration with diversity there too. But what I say is one, it can be a struggle depending on who you're interacting with. Some people just aren't there yet as far as um, seeing all people out of the lens of potential and things like that. But what I'll say to that is simply this: that what I would say for the people who may struggle with it a little bit, start to think about the benefits of diversity. Start to understand there's power in diversity. There's just because a person doesn't come from my walk of life doesn't matter of fact, and in many cases that may be a good thing because they have a different perspective that could be helpful, to what we're trying to accomplish. And so some of the bigger firms out here who understand that are doing extremely well. They're big, diverse as far as their people, diverse as far as their staff, diverse as far as and they're flourishing. financially. There was a report that was put out by Deloitte, and it talked about what they called the diversity frontier. And what it was saying in that report was, man, the companies that are doing it are blowing right on up, man, because they're hearing different, diverse perspectives and seeing things from a different way, marketing in a different way because they're open to it. But so for the people who are on the other side doing the hiring and buying, the business owners, I'm telling you, you really need to get up to speed because that's kind of where we are now as a nation. But secondly, for the individuals who may be on the other end saying, well, I'm dealing with certain challenges, I'll say to them, you know what? Your vision has to drive you. You know what I mean? Don't let obstacles or missed opportunities that didn't produce. You know what? Just get up and keep going. I've been doing this a long time, man. I've run into a lot of obstacles, but this is what I'm called to do. This is my mission, man. And I don't care what obstacles come my way. You know what I mean? I'm still gonna keep pushing because there's always somebody out there that's gonna want to do something with you. There's always gonna be somebody that want to hire you. There's always gonna be somebody want to promote you. And so just don't let individual situations shut you down. Stay focused, look at what it is that you want to accomplish, put together a plan, and stay the course. I've been doing this 20 years, man. People are like, you've been doing this 20 years. I said, yeah, 20 years. I've been an entrepreneur and I wouldn't trade it in for anything. We do one thing I didn't mention, we do a lot of entrepreneurial coaching too. So we coach businesses primarily in that startup phase, 0 to 5, and then we do those 5 to 10s as well. But man, I always tell them, let that vision drive you because eventually all the pieces will come together if you stay the course, have a plan of execution. So that's kind of what I have to say, man. I mean, I don't know if that's the right answer, but I just think that there's two sides of it. And if, both sides would just kind of stay the course of what they have to do and make some adjustments, man, it can be a beautiful thing. It definitely could be beneficial to all of us.
Well, yeah. For the
Mm,
companies that have
mm,
been wise enough to expand, that means they have a bigger customer base, right? They have
yeah.
new ideas. There's lots of goodness that comes into
Hmm.
play, when you you know go broader than what your context is. I'm just
Yeah.
in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll say this if I can, Dr. Dave,
Yes.
because I told you that's the area we focus on. We do DDI work. And what we do, one thing we realize with our customers in that space, I know, like when this whole thing really hit hard about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, everyone kind of rushed in and started doing bias training and started doing microaggressions training and all that stuff. We didn't take that approach. We said, what we understand is that first of all, we got to realize we're all human beings. You know what I mean? I had a chance to meet Dr. Tommy Smith, the guy that was in the Olympics that had his hands up, hand up in the air.
Mm.
And he and I were talking, and he said, Daryl, and the reality, so a lot of people think what I did then was just about Black power. He said, no, it was about human rights. And he said it was bigger than just being Black. He said that was the stance for a lot of people. And he was saying that, if we can just see each other as human beings on the journey of life, and it's amazing what we can accomplish. Like when we do our work with folks, we make it, we make them want to, get in there and have a conversation with us. We don't beat them up. We don't put them down.
Yeah.
We just talk. Yeah, all that stuff. We don't do all that, man, because I will have a conversation if I'm coming in there, guns a blazing. Like I'm gonna tell you this and tell you that, and you're this and you're that. No,
Mm.
let's talk about how do we reach common ground, and how do we start to see the value of every person who carries our company's name? Because guess what? If I work for a company, you get a check from them, and so do I, and it
Yep.
has the same name. It has the same name on it. No matter if I'm black, white, green, brown, male, female, you name it, it's the same name. So that means we all work for this firm. And that means we all should be treated with fairness. But that has some people need to get some education, in some cases, some coaching to understand that a little bit better.
I mean, without a doubt, because we could pivot from you just talked about coaching, but what about mentorship, and how's that played in
Hmm.
your career, and how do you mentor others in your journey?
Hmm. Well, mentorship, I think, is a term that's used a lot, but we hear it a lot, but it's not done a lot. Um, Mentors, to me, companies should always, like again, companies, organizations across the board, uh, should have some type of a mentoring program in place. Peer mentoring, leader mentoring, things like that. because what you're doing is it's important to take people on a journey where they can progress and advance, but have people who are there to help them calibrate and make adjustments and shifts and things like that. A lot of times, what I hear is people feel like they'll tell me, like people I've even coached, nobody here coaches me, nobody here mentors me. Nobody takes the time. It's like everybody's trying to get their thing, do their thing, and be successful in their space instead of looking at the bigger picture and say, okay, how do you prepare me to be better in my space so we all will be better overall? So mentoring, I think, is of critical importance, not just in the workplace, but in life. I have a bunch of mentees that
Yeah.
I'm mentoring just in life. It's not about work or anything. It's just I mentor them about family, and I've been married almost 30 years, marriage. I have 4 kids, being a father, things like that. So it's not just all business. So I think we need in the communities a lot more too. But in the workplace, I think it should just be a prerequisite. When people come in, they're assigned a mentor. Now, it's got to be a good mentoring match because you're just trying to learn and grow, man, and you need somebody there to help you. And so you don't have to make those mistakes that many others have. So I think it's of critical importance. And my hope, and if people were listening to this that may not be doing it, you would consider, start putting some systems in place because there's people in your workplace that need mentoring, but also people in your life that need it as well.
Oh, without a doubt. But as we start to think about, young people of color or just young
Hmm.
people in general, aspiring
Hmm.
to be entrepreneurs, what type of advice would you give those people?
Yeah. So you're talking about youth, younger people that's trying to go into entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I would say the first thing I would say to them is number one, take a business or entrepreneurship course. Don't You need to learn how to do this. So like a lot of people think I can just do this, but they don't understand about finances. They don't understand about accounting. They don't know about marketing. They don't know. There's so much learning that needs to take place. Like, when you go on a job for a company, they don't just say, okay, come in and learn this on your own. Like get out there and just go figure it out. They give you a manual, they give you strategies, and they put you through, training and things like that. And the training is always like ongoing. Like you really never stop. When I worked at Abbott, we were always training, you know. And so, but a lot of people think entrepreneurism, well, I can just do a lot of hustle stuff and I'll be successful. Well, maybe to some extent, you need to learn how to be an entrepreneur. You need to learn how to run a business. And there's a lot of organizations out here that can help. They give it for free. Like most of the small business, SCORE and small business organizations within most local cities offer it for free. Don't just come out here. Don't get out here and wing it. There's too many people doing that. Learn how to, just like you learned how to be a vice president, or you learned how to be a manager, or you learned how to be whatever. Learn how to run a business, because the difference between being an entrepreneur and working for someone is accountability. On your own, if you're married, it could be your spouse. They may say, okay, you need to get out there and make some money, or we're going to got some problems around here. But on that job, they're going to give you metrics. They're going to tell you, you're going to get your evaluations and you're going to know how you're doing. Now, again, I would say for us not to pitch it, but we can help with that too, because we understand that people sometimes need accountability and they may need a coach to help them with that, and help them to learn those little details. So we do some of that coaching as well, but that's not a bigger part of our work, but we do it just for some entrepreneur organizations. I always say only serious ones, because we don't want to put time into folks that's not going to do the work. But it's a beautiful thing. Once you get into your lane, it's phenomenal. It just says you can grow and you can expand and you can reach. I've been on hundreds of stages as a keynote speaker from big organizations. Walmart flew me down on a private jet to speak to all their senior managers worldwide. I remember standing at Verizon in front of 4,000 people at Verizon, speaking to all kinds of senior leaders. When I first started, I never thought I would make it to that point. We have contracts that we've had with major companies to do DEI work, but it didn't start out like that. But I operate within a preset. I operate within principles, and I realize there's things I got to continually do in order for my business to continue to grow and prosper. And go again, because I don't have a manager saying, okay, we're meeting in 30 days to look at your performance. But I do have people I allow to coach me and mentor me to help me remain accountable.
No, that's great. And you brought up a very important organization called SCORE. I remember in my second or third, business venture, um, I was introduced to SCORE, and that really helped me tremendously
Mm-hmm.
in terms of just speaking to others who have been on this journey before, and give you a good
Mm-hmm.
context. I'll say that wherever you are in your local community, if you could find SCORE in that organization and connect with them, um, man, you could get some great value out of that, those relationships that you build there.
Oh, huge, huge. And I'll say this just to bring a little extra piece to it. What I like about it is not all of them were entrepreneurs, but some of them were like directors of marketing for large corporations
Yeah.
and things like that. So SCORE can give you strategies from people who did certain things, public relations or something like that. So they may not have actually run a business. Some of them do. Some of them have. But a lot of them are just experts in content areas. And that's valuable as a business owner. So I just wanted to add that little piece as well.
No, no, that was critical. Yeah, that's true. They weren't
Yeah.
all entrepreneurs. Some of them were CEOs, some of them were CFOs, some were just
Mm-hmm.
managers. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was really significant in
Yeah.
helping to shape some of the context that I have about being an
Mm.
entrepreneur as well.
Yeah. Me too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
as we begin to move into looking at your business impacting the community or your local community and beyond, you know, what do you see that's happening there? That in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the work that you're doing.
Yeah. One, I moved recently, so I'm in Florida right now. So I would say we're still trying to get our roots here as far as the community is concerned. So we're out there, doing different things. But we spent 25 years in Delaware, you know,
Mhm.
and um, and so I guess as far as our business was well known in that area. I mean, and the reason why, because we were munificent, man. We helped. We were engaged in the community, because to me, if you're a business owner, you got to be involved with your community. Like, you can't just own a business and just open the doors and think that people just show up. One way you expand your business potential is by serving, volunteerism, things like that. In Delaware, we I was able to um, help them open. This is again volunteerism. I was working with the Urban League. We were able to secure Delaware's first office of a minority business enterprise. They didn't have anything like that. And so I was a business owner, and I understood the need for some of the state agencies to, have some things in place to really help them do more work with minority owned businesses. And so by being involved, I was able to help shape that policy. You know what I'm saying? So I think and then also as far as youth and all that, man, we were involved with everything. We did all kinds of stuff to empower young people, work with young people, help them become entrepreneurs, help them go after career dreams and goals. We actually ran a program one time. That was our primary focus within that program. But our community there, you walk through Wilmington, Delaware, and mention Daryl Coach DeAndrews, they all know who I am, because we understand that part of the community, the job of a business is to give back. But then also it said, "Oh, give and it shall be given unto you." Because once people know what you're doing, and if it's good work, they're gonna put your name out there. You know what I mean? So there's some benefits to it as well. So we play a significant role in our communities. I'm looking to do more of that down here in Florida, but we're still in the process of trying to connect the dots.
Yeah, I mean, no, I love that. It's one of my
Hmm.
my passions, in one of the programs that
Yeah,
we started up that doing
that's good.
outreach,
Yeah,
teaching
man.
entrepreneurship and coding,
Mm.
and job,
Yeah,
all of those different skills that the next generation needs to be able to thrive,
yeah.
economy to come.
And let me say, if I can, Dr. Dave, there's a bigger community too. The bigger community, I mean, there's people, let's say maybe, who are doing some of the things you're doing, but they're still learning. Like, one of the greatest times I've had in my early career, and I've met a lot of wonderful people, is I had a friend. Unfortunately, she passed away, but I was early in the speaking part of my career, which is not the only part, but that was kind of my big thrust early. And she said, "Would you like to?" Her name was Tony, and she said, "Would you like to speak to Les Brown?" And I said, "Stop joking. You don't know Les Brown." She said, "Would you like to speak to him?" I said, "Tony, stop messing with me." I said, "You don't know Les Brown." She said, "Come in my office." She put on speaker and she called him. When I heard that voice, I said, "Oh my God, that's Les Brown."
Yeah,
Couldn't
wow.
believe it because I
Wow.
immediately knew that voice. I knew that voice, and I said, I was like shocked, I didn't even know what to say. And she said, he said, "Hey, young man, how you doing?" I said, "I'm doing well, man. How you doing, right?" He said, "Well, if Tony's calling me, you must be pretty serious about what you're doing." I said, "Well, I'm in corporate at the time, but I'm looking to make the break and go out and do my own thing. I'm just trying to learn." He said, "Okay, give me your number." He said, "I'm busy, but I'll call you." And so I had an office, an office, and man, sure enough, he called me. He called me several times and just shared wisdom with me. Well, I'll tell you one thing he shared with me that was powerful. He said, "If you want to spread your name, speak at conferences."
Yeah.
He said, "Conferences are where people get to know who you are." I'd never heard that before. And you know what? That's how I built my speaking career. There's a little side insight there, but it came from someone given to his larger community. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Who am I? He didn't even know me. I'm dude just getting started. But here's this international, globally known person sowing into this start. So I'm saying that caused me to do the same for other people because I was so appreciative of that, man. That this guy would take the time to talk to us. At that time I considered myself nobody in the game, and he helped me. So the bigger community sometimes they're just people not necessarily in your community, but people who may be young in startups that's trying to get to certain places in their career that's very similar to yours.
No,
That's another
that's
way of
that's
thinking.
so true. Just being a multiplier, that's
Mhm,
what comes to mind when you
mm.
operate with that in that stance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think it's a blessing to be able to do that, man, because I remember seeing him one time at the National Speakers Association, that meeting, and when I walked up to him, I said, "Hello." He said, "You Coach D, aren't you?" I said, "Yes, sir." He knew my voice. I
Wow.
said,
Wow.
we hadn't, because that predated the Zooms and all that. But he recognized my voice immediately, and I said, "Man, I just don't want to let you know how much you helped me." He said, "No, man." He said, "That was my pleasure."
Yeah.
So you start realizing, man, that's the beautiful. He's got a lot. And you talk to 1,000 people that will probably tell you the same thing about him. And the same thing with Dr. Miles Monroe before we lost him. These are people that understand the bigger community of people that are out here trying to make a difference. And they're not, well, they're okay. It's not always about a coaching deal, or not everybody today is everything about coaching and all that, which is
Yeah.
fine. I got that. I get it. But sometimes I tell people this, I still have conversations with folk. I don't, everybody's not going to become a coaching client.
No.
Some folks I just want to inspire, man. And so guess what? You get some of my time just to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Or even to be inspired by what
Yeah.
they're working on. So it's a
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
symbiotic
Yeah.
relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, what's the next peak you're aiming to reach, with your business or as an entrepreneur?
Well, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I'm looking at the trends, and that's another thing as an entrepreneur, you look at the trends. And we have to understand, for those of us out here in my space, I just want to let folks know this, that the traditional model is fading. And what I mean by that, just waiting for a person to call, get a consulting contract. I'm not saying that's going away, but it's not what it used to be. Okay. And the reason why is because people have access to so much information, you
Yes.
know. So you got to separate yourself by having innovative type things that are going on. So for me, I'm I'm pivoting big time to 21st century in a major way. I have partners I'm looking at with AI. I have partners I'm looking at with online courses, self-paced courses. I already got that. We've created some DEI. Our first one is DEI. We're going to create a bunch of other because the the days of Coach D coming to your organization to do things, they're still there, and we're going to have those kind of opportunities. But most of these folks, in particular with this hybrid model, them folks going to sit in their house and do self-paced
Yep. Yep.
and things like that. They're not going to be, they can't bring them all to one location. And even on Zoom, it's not possible because they have. So I'm positioning my business around where it's going, not where it's been. Because if I stay focused on what it's been, I'll become obsolete.
Well, yeah, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
It,
Yep.
it's the thing that's the whole pivot and persevere kind of context, right?
Yeah.
You're looking
Mm-hmm.
at the shift in the way we work, ways of working, and the future of work, and that
Mm-hmm.
includes being
Mm-hmm.
able to provide value whether you're physically there or not.
That's right.
Right? That's
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 right.
the, that's the journey that we're on in this new model.
Yeah, and it's not going anywhere. It's
No,
literally isn't. And I'm talking to consultant after consultant that's getting hit hard and they don't know what to do. And I'm telling them, I said, here's the deal. I said, pivot. This is not time to persevere. It's time to pivot
Yeah.
because, listen, we got a whole generation of people that have come up on technology. Literally, a whole generation. So boomers are moving out of the game a little bit. They're moving, and this new generation, this is what they know. And so if we're gonna think that we're gonna work with this generation like we did with the boomer generation, oh, you in some
No.
serious trouble.
Yeah.
You are in some serious trouble because they don't want to spend a whole bunch of time with you. They want something they can pop on an app, do it that way, and maybe get you once every other month on a Zoom meeting or something like that. So we have to be smart, man. I mean, I had to learn like everybody else, because you start seeing things slow down and you say, shoot, what's going on? And you say, oh, this is what's going on. So, I mean, we're pivoting and it's a process. I'm not going to sit up and say it's the easiest thing, but we're going to stay the course till we get there. That's just, we're going to stay that course.
Well, that's what we have to do. So,
Mm.
Coach D, your story isn't just getting to your mountaintop, but it's about
Mm.
building a whole mountain range for others to climb, right?
Yes, yes. We want some Mount Kilimanjaro people, man.
There you go. So any final words for, aspiring
Mm.
trailblazers like yourself?
Well, I'm gonna share. I'm gonna leave it with a quote, if I can, by Henry Ford. Henry Ford was being interviewed, and a lot of people don't know this, but Henry Ford was not his greatest accomplishment wasn't the Model T. It was assembly line. He created the assembly line, and a lot of people don't even know that. And so all those assembly lines that manufacturing organizations were using, they had to pay him to use them. All right. And so he was being interviewed, and the guy was kind of harassing him because he only had like a ninth grade education. He didn't go all the way through college or anything. And so the guy was saying, how you accomplish this and how you accomplish that? And you have a ninth grade education and you booked this car company. And he looked at the young man with a smile on his face. He said, well, young man, it's just as simple as this. If you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. That's so true.
And he walked right on into his office and said, see you later. And he
Yep.
didn't much more than that. So my last words to your audience, if you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. So your mind is gonna go to work processing what you give it. And if you
That's so
tell it,
true.
if you can tell it, I can get this done, somehow, some way it's gonna find a way to get it. So that's what I got for the folks today.
Well, thank you again. So thank you for tuning into the KnolShare with Dr. Dave podcast. Special thanks to Dell, Coach D. Andrews, for giving so generously today. I invite you to stay tuned, Trailblazers, because the next episodes will just give you even more insight on all of the beautiful things that we've gathered today from Coach D. So, Coach D, thank you so much.
It was truly my pleasure. Truly my pleasure.